Have you ever felt like the more that you're winning in a video game, the more fun you're having? Now, I know you're like, come on, Brian, like that's how games are supposed to work. But have you ever considered that maybe the amount of fun that you're having while playing that game is inversely proportional to the amount of fun someone else out there is having at that exact same moment? A real person just like you with hopes and dreams and, I don't know, like an air fryer that they keep saying they're going to get around to using more. But what I'm trying to get at is that in the world of video games, there's often not enough fun to go around. And sometimes the games are made with exactly that thought in mind. So if we look at fun in video games as a resource, something like gold or oil, it's something that you have to work for in order to get more of. Sometimes. And just like oil in a small country, sometimes you can have a lot of fun. But then the United States hears about just how much fun you're having, and they decide that it's time to give you a heavy dose of freedom and democracy. And then you're back to square one with zero fun. So I guess in this analogy, the United States are a bunch of turbo sweat teenagers or work from home dads who slam the game for 12 hours a day. And there's no way that you can possibly compete with them because they've just played the game way more than you have. Obviously this isn't the case for all video games, but I came up with the concept for this video from playing different games with my friends. And one of the things that we always do before buying a game is we take a look at the cost and we determine if we can get that many dollars worth of fun out of the game before we stop playing it. A good example of this is Deep Rock Galactic. So this is a co-op game where you play as a group of dwarves mining valuable resources in caves on asteroids while fending off hordes of alien monsters. I think the game normally costs like $30, but it's often on sale. I think I got it for like $10. Now look, I have less than 10 hours played of Deep Rock Galactic, but the amount of fun that I've had with my friends in those few hours absolutely exceeds the $10 that I paid for the game. Not to mention the fact that the procedural generation of the maps increases the replayability like tenfold. But all of this is only relevant when you're trying to determine if the game is even worth buying. When it comes to games that you have hundreds, if not thousands of hours in, the idea of fun as a resource is directly tied to the gameplay itself. For the purpose of this video, I'm going to be boxing in the idea of fun in video games into three main categories. And now I understand that there's potentially arguments to be made against all the things that I'm saying here, so if you disagree, just let me know in the comments. I'm excited to hear what you have to say. But let's take a look at those categories. So, given fun, earned fun, and competitive fun. So let's start with given fun. This is where fun is going to be least like a finite resource, and if anything, it's actually more of a renewable resource, like the solar power of video games, to add it to the analogy. Games in this category are typically casual in nature, and they aren't intended to cause the player too much stress or frustration. Now, to be clear, this doesn't mean that the game can't be challenging, it just means that the devs were on your side when they made the game. I think that Deep Rock Galactic is a great example of this because it's pretty straightforward how it works. You play the game, and the journey of playing naturally brings a good time. Some other examples of this type of game would be like Skyrim, Animal Crossing, Starfield, Cyberpunk, or even Club Penguin. Basically most single-player games. And one of the cool things about them is that you don't specifically have to be good at gaming in order to enjoy them. And while there's still a storyline with missions and goals, you're free to do whatever you want for essentially as long as you'd like. Alright, so let's talk about earned fun. In games like this, fun is essentially an unlimited resource, but in order to get to that fun, you have to spend time and effort. To use the natural resource analogy, you can think of these games almost like corn ethanol. If you want to use it, you're going to have to learn the basic game mechanics first, that's growing the corn, then you have to figure out how to build a fancy science machine to turn it all into fuel, which is figuring out the skill cap of the game. But even once you've gotten your fuel, it's still not going to be as clean or as efficient as solar energy, like we talked about earlier. There's a lot of video games that fall into this category. RuneScape and World of Warcraft have some big aspects of earned fun, especially when you're focused more on like the questing and the skill building. Project Zomboid and survival games like it award you more fun just by playing the game longer. Then you've got games like City Skylines, tower defense games, simulator games. All of these fall really well into the category. You spend time and energy playing the game, but that time and effort pays off in the form of better tools or better abilities that let you achieve even more within the game. The progression earns the player fun, but the progression itself is also fun. Fun won through competition or domination. Now, this is technically also earned fun, but it's different from what we mentioned earlier because the core aspect is to win the fun from other real people as opposed to just earning the fun from the game itself. And this is really where the idea of like fun as a finite resource comes in. In these games, the devs take a look at the lobby and they say, hey, there's 10 people in here, but there's only 5 units of fun to be had. Some of you are going to walk away with this fun, and some of you are going to walk away kind of pissed. And I think that's a key aspect here on how video games differ from sports or competition in general. Because I feel like some of you might be like, yeah, Brian, you're just explaining how being competitive works. And I guess in a way I am, but I think that certain video games have taken that a step further. Well, maybe not the games themselves, but the cultures and the communities of the people who play these games have. We as the gamers are essentially treating these as zero-sum games. Hi there, I'm Dr. Brian. I'm a video game scientist, and today I'm here to present you with the following case study: Escape from Tarkov, a game of zero sum. For those of you who may not know, Escape from Tarkov is an extraction-based first-person shooter that has many elements of a zero-sum game. In Tarkov, every raid you play is a gamble. What you extract with, whether it's high-end gear or just a few scraps, is either directly stripped from the clutches of someone else's cold, dead hands, or it's something you found and were able to get away with before someone could strip it from the clutches of your own cold, dead hands. So, how does Tarkov fit into the zero-sum concept? Well, let's break it down. Each raid feels like a microcosm of desperate survival, where the stakes are always high. You enter the game with your carefully assembled loadout, knowing full well that losing means that your gear could be looted by another player. And winning? Well, that means you're walking out with someone else's hard-earned loot, their hours of grinding, and their hopes for a successful extraction, all crushed under your victorious boots. This high-risk, high-reward dynamic is what makes Tarkov exhilarating. It's not just about surviving, it's about thriving at the expense of others. The game doesn't expand fun, it redistributes it. When you score a rare item or successfully ambush another player, that thrill is a direct transfer of frustration and defeat from them to you. It's raw, it's brutal, and it's why every victory feels intensely satisfying. But here's where it gets even more interesting. Tarkov's zero-sum nature extends beyond the immediate gameplay. It seeps into the overall economy. The in-game market where players buy and sell gear is a wild west of supply and demand, driven entirely by the successes and failures of the player base. Prices fluctuate based on what gear is looted and lost in raids, creating a constantly shifting landscape where one player's loss is another's financial gain. What Tarkov teaches us about fun in video games is unique. It's a stark reminder that in some games your joy is directly fueled by the misery of others. It's not just about being the best, it's about being the one who can outwit, outplay, outlast everyone else. And while this might sound a bit harsh, it's the brutal honesty of Tarkov that keeps players coming back. The rush of claiming victory in a zero-sum world, where your success is literally built on the failures of others. It's a powerful draw. Now, Escape from Tarkov isn't just a game, it's a survival of the fittest. It's a battle where every win is someone else's loss, and every piece of loot has a story of triumph or defeat. It's the embodiment of a zero-sum game, and that's what makes it such a compelling, albeit ruthless, experience. Thank you. Now, we're not done just yet. I want to take a moment to talk about a new secret surprise category, fun terrorism. And this isn't a new concept by any means. You've probably heard about this described as, griefing. We've all seen it, we might have done it before. But if I'm going to arbitrarily be renaming stuff, then I wanted to specifically include this term. If we look at the world of video games as having an economy, and fun is a non-renewable resource in that economy, then we have to consider that there's going to be criminals and/or terrorists out there causing chaos. Griefing or fun terrorism is a gaming playstyle that transcends how the game was designed or intended to be played. Going back to Escape from Tarkov, as a PMC, you already expect everyone to have a shoot-on-sight mentality. But what about when you're doing a casual scav raid, hanging out looting with a big group of player scavs, and someone decides it's time to open fire? It's no longer about winning, it's about taking someone else's chances of winning and crushing it under your boot for a laugh. It's the epitome of fun terrorism, stealing joy from others to fuel your, twisted sense of entertainment. But why stop there? This phenomenon isn't just limited to competitive games, it sneaks its way into co-op games too, where teamwork should be king. You ever been playing just like a chill game of Minecraft, you're working on your masterpiece over there, and along comes some shithead 12-year-old and they light your house that you're building on fire just because they can. See, that's not competition, that's just pure unadulterated fun terrorism. Lethal Company became pretty popular recently, and while playing it for the first time, I accidentally became a fun terrorist myself. For those of you guys that don't know, one of the loot items that you can get is this opera mask, and so I'm sitting over there bugging my friend Zach by putting the mask on in front of him, making ghost sounds at him, and then next thing you know, boom, I'm dead, because apparently when you wear the mask for too long, it just kills you, and then after a while it brings your body back as this theater kid zombie that starts attacking the rest of your team. Sorry Zach, my bad. Another great example of fun terrorism is this guy.
911, what is your emergency?
I have a kid here. He's playing Among Us VR under the age of 13.
No,
Okay.
please, no.
Just because the police let you off the hook doesn't mean I will.
Now, the concept of fun terrorism isn't just your run-of-the-mill competitive spirit. It's a whole different beast. Think about it like this. In competitive games, you can win, you can lose, but either way, you still can have fun. It's kind of like playing a tough game of basketball, where no matter who wins, you're there for the game. But with fun terrorism, it's like someone's having a laugh and having fun only when they can trip you up and watch you faceplant on the court, because it's not about the score anymore. It's about making sure the other guy has a terrible time. This isn't just a zero-sum game. It's kind of like if you're hanging out one night with all your friends, eating pizza, and when there's only one slice left, instead of offering it to someone or even eating it, your friend Cam just goes and throws it in the trash just to see the disappointed look on everyone's faces. When you're acting as a fun terrorist, that fun that you're having is being ripped straight out of someone else's good time. It's all about getting your kicks specifically from turning someone else's gaming session into a digital nightmare. It's kind of fucked up if you think about it, because in this virtual world, some players are choosing to be joy vampires. They're lurking in the shadows, ready to pounce on someone else's game night. And let's be real, it's a controversial topic. Some argue that it's just part of the game, I guess a psychological warfare, if you will. Others see it as a toxic behavior that ruins the gaming experience. And wherever you stand on this, one thing's for sure. Fun terrorism adds a whole new layer to how we understand competition and cooperation in gaming. Because it's not just about playing the game, it's about playing with the emotions and experiences of those real people behind the screens. Now, there's an additional conversation to be had about how cheaters fall into this dynamic, but I don't want to go down that rabbit hole for two reasons. The first one being that it's just a whole thing. And the second is that it's probably an opportunity for another video I could make. Or you guys, if you want to make it, go ahead. In the vast universe of video games, fun can often feel like a finite resource. We've seen it in the heated battles of competitive play, the strategic grind of earning your rewards, and even in the chaotic realms of fun terrorism. Each game, each session that you play is like a little economy of joy, where the fun that you have might just be the fun that someone else is missing out on. And that's kind of a weird thought, right? That your big win or the troll move that you did that cracked up you and your friends in Discord could be the flip side of someone else smashing their fucking keyboard and going to bed. But that's the thing about video games, I guess. They're not just code and graphics, they're experiences, they're emotions. And yeah, sometimes it's a tug of war over who gets to smile and who's left gritting their teeth. But, like they say, that's showbiz, baby. See you next time.